She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick.
And I'm your co-host, not Dr. Kirby Brunswick. Still not a doctor.
Still not a doctor, Kirby.
What if I get like an honorary PhD someday?
Well, isn't it interesting to think that if you would have just started chiropractic school when I started the podcast, you'd be a doctor by now?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think I'd be a good doctor,
You
though.
lazy ass motherfucker. You
just think if I'd have started chiropractic school when you started the podcast, you wouldn't have a podcast anymore.
Wait, why is that?
You'd have had to figure all that stuff out because I'd have been busy.
Well, that's not true. I think we all know that I would have still made you. It still would have happened.
These get degrees. I was busy editing a podcast. I'm sorry, Professor.
Have you heard of my wife? You know what would have been the actual hardest part is sending you to that school.
Oh yeah, because I mean, with the kids and stuff, it's not like I would have been flying down to Georgia for school every week. It'd have to be a commute situation to the closest school.
I think that you can still get I think they deliver a great education. I just think that, when we were just at UAC a couple of weeks ago, I realized that you need to read the green books.
Oh, me personally? Yeah, because
I've never read it, but you should.
Who was sharing it? And they read it, and I was like, oh my God, they're talking about Jesus and spirit.
I think it was Jen Tempo.
Yeah, I was very excited. I was like, dang, that's what's in the green books? I could get down with that.
Oh, yeah. Me personally, I walked out of my first philosophy class that I ever did in undergrad, and I was like, this is bullshit. And I can handle people reading paragraphs of philosophy to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. But you could read a whole book.
Yeah, I got in an argument with my philosophy professor when I was a freshman in college, and I still think I'm right and that they didn't understand the text as well as I did.
Does not surprise me at all. Okay, so this is a special episode. This is episode number 250. And so I put out a poll asking people if they wanted us to share our biggest mistakes or a no holds bar. No holds bar. That's
no holds barred.
Oh no, that's what it is?
Yeah, so it's in reference to a fight. So normally you'd say in UFC now, it's okay, this is everything, but no biting, no punching in the crotch, no scratching. So or if there's a wrestling match and they go you can't do a suplex, that's a hold that they're barring you from doing. So if it's a full out fight, no holds barred.
Okay. So there's no holds on a person that are banned.
Yep.
Who knew? Really, who knew?
Unless there's some other explanation. I guess I've never had it explained to me. That's just what the words mean in my head.
Why did they say barred instead of banned?
I don't know. Good question.
So you don't really know. Oh, okay. So now I wonder how many people, when I put out on my poll and I put no holds bar.
It's a good name for a bar.
Anyways, so people wanted the mistakes, but then I did get multiple people saying I would like that Q&A. So we'll have to do that at a different point.
Yes,
and we'll make that episode 300.
There we go.
Always need. Oh my God. Oh, so I think I can tell the story because nobody there listens. Speaking of just episodes forever and ever ago. So somebody I know through Instagram. So, okay, one of my best friends, other best friends, started a podcast, nothing to do with her. And I was super excited for, the idea because it's cool. People starting podcasts. It's great. And after 6 episodes, she posts on her Instagram, what should I talk about next month on the podcast? And I sent it to Kirby and gave him the backstory. I'm she is 6 episodes in and she is crowdsourcing. This is going to be a long ass. I give it episode 50. I bet she's done by then.
Well, and I mean, that's even nothing against that person.
No, it has nothing to do with it. I don't even know this person that well. It's just I wanted to tell my best friend, reach out to your other best friend. She's not doing well.
You just got to find a different, you got to get write-in questions or start bringing on a bunch of guests or just realize that this is never ending and difficult.
Yeah. So anyway, so episode 300, we'll do the Q&A. But this one, mistakes. So we actually recorded, ironically, on our 6th episode, the 5 biggest mistakes we'd made in practice so far.
Yep. So that would have been July of 2019.
And Kirby could have gone to chiropractic school.
Could have gone to chiropractic school. I was just listening to it today. Some highlights from that episode, not necessarily the content. We can talk about the content too. One, terrible audio. Like we didn't have Jacob. We didn't have good. We actually say like we just got a new mic, which is probably our first Yeti mic. We realized that I must have been on some other episode before too, because we referenced
When
the
you talk
fact
too quiet.
that I was too quiet. So we had me sitting right next to the microphone and you sitting 4 feet away so that we could be heard in normal balance. It was the first time we recognized that Lauryn didn't understand what the tick or the tor at the end of chiropractic was.
Teacher of innate chiropractic is the tick, right? And then
I'm not sure. I still am not sure if the acronym actually means that. I think people have shoehorned that in, but I think like tick is like the power that is doing it, and the tor is the person that is delivering the adjustment, is what I was reading while I was researching this episode after I heard us talk about that, because someone did give us acronyms.
Yeah.
But there's different theories on if it's actually an acronym or if it's like the power is the tick, the doer, the deliverer of the adjustment is the tor. So you can do things that are good for the tor that aren't necessarily good for the tick. Like if you're just like, I'm going to sell mushroom coffee, good for the tor, making money. Does it actually move the tick? Like, does it give the tick the glory?
Interesting. All right, got it. What other?
Hold on.
Yeah,
I have
no.
more notes here.
Yes.
I think it might have been my first full episode. I think I may have been in like a halfie or something, because you referenced like people are finally going to get to know you.
Oh, how cute.
Also, it was recorded on a Friday afternoon, and we were drinking gin and sodas, happy houring during the thing. So we brought that back. Oh, the camera can't.
What's really funny is both of us have green screens and we're holding up our gin and sodas and they're disappearing. Cheers to you, honey.
For just the audio listeners.
Oh, which I gave up drinking for Lent, but this is in the rules. So
yeah, you limited your drinking to only 10 days during Lent,
which sounds terrible. When it was like, out of 40, I'm only gonna drink on 10 of them. But anybody who's judging me doesn't live in Wisconsin, so screw you.
Yep.
What else from the episode?
Okay, do you want to hear what our mistakes were that we did in the first one?
I mean, breeze through them, because I think we should encourage people to go back and listen to episode 6 and how cute and young we are.
It's actually a really solid episode. I loved listening to it.
Well, of course it was. We had a ton of people listening right out of the gate. We were amazing.
That's how we got here. Number 1 was that you didn't go to seminars or have a philosophy, so that you didn't have like an idea of what you wanted to stand for or how you wanted to practice. Just kind of being a chameleon, figuring things out.
Yep.
Number 2,
Jen Tempo at UAC just had a great line around that, where it's like, if you don't know what you stand for, then you will fall for what everybody else stands for.
Exactly.
And I was like, hell yeah.
Number 2, wish we would have hired a coach right away. We built so many of our own systems and just didn't have it figured out. Number 3.
Can I just say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but
yeah, you do.
But I just found out from my human design that my human design requires I learn on my own. Like I cannot.
And confirm.
I cannot really take other people's advice and like, I mean, I listen to advice, but like, I think it's part of the reason that I take action so quickly is I know that once I need that feedback. Like I'm not really going to have all the information until we start like trying it out. So
I think that makes sense. For you take advice and action when you've gone to do something. So it's very different for you to have paid to go to a conference and then someone tells you something and you go, oh, that's amazing, we have to do that. If I just say it on like a Tuesday afternoon, like you didn't do anything for it, so you didn't discover it.
Right.
Like, but if you went to a conference and heard someone So I think I just need to start hosting conferences that you pay me to go to. And then I can
Kirby's
tell you
like
what we need to
having
do.
TED Talks in our living room, and he's like, "Do you want to come?" And I'm like, I'm actually 85% of the way through this book, so I'm gonna. Charlie, you want to come? Dad, not really.
No, Charlie doesn't love my philosophizing either.
A whole nother
Um,
way that you feel not seen in our family.
it's okay. God sees me. Number 3 was not defining success and always chasing numbers. So like thinking like once we get to 100, it'll be good. Once we get to 250, it'll be good. Once we get to 500, it'll be good.
Oh, I thought I
But
learned
not,
that lesson back in episode 6, huh?
yeah,
How cute.
totally. You
How
totally learned
cute.
that. Never did that again.
Never did it again.
Number 4 was student loans. On your side, it was not understanding the value of the money and borrowing too much during chiropractic school and not like having a job and being tied to what real money is. And for me, it was in that first year, just not understanding how the program worked of like, oh, the interest is still running. I thought like you were going to be nice to us. And then number 5 was ditching the ego, understanding that like we're in it together, that it's not just your practice,
We
not
ditched
being
it.
not
The
being
last four
offended
and a half
when
years have been so
people
smooth
don't
without that
come
ego.
anymore, not taking patients leaving personally, which you totally don't do anymore. You, every patient who leaves, you just say, go with God and you
Yeah.
move on.
I mean, really, it's incredible the things that I had let go and solved 4 years ago. I don't think we claim to have solved them. I think we were just awareness around it.
Yes, we are still aware.
I'm very aware. My therapy makes it very aware. Okay. Well, go back and listen to episode 6. Just cuties. Like,
Just little babies. I wish we'd have recorded it. I want to know what we looked like back then.
oh, I was like
video.
Kirby, we literally did record it. It's episode 6. What is wrong with you?
No, we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have Jacob yet. So
I know. What advice would you go back and give those little episode 6 people?
Look for progress, not perfection. You're getting better, but you're never going to eliminate some of these things. Check back in with yourself on these issues and make a plan. And even if things don't go to plan, at least you set your sights on something at one point.
That's good.
How about you?
I got nothing. I've been like, bitch, you don't grow that much over the next 4 years. Like,
wait, yeah, we did go over the next 4 years. It was just a lot of ups and downs.
Okay, let's pray and let's get to the 5 mistakes we've made in the last 4 hours.
All right. Dear God, thank you for moments like this where we get to reflect back and see the lessons we've learned and see the lessons we are still learning. Thank you for moments of reflection where we get to see what we need and that we have the capability to grow and change. Help us to keep all these changes and growth and decisions through the lens of what you want and what you want for us and how we can help those around us. And help us to be humble and appreciative that everyone makes mistakes and that we're never going to be perfect, but we can always make progress for those around us and for your glory. In your name we pray.
Right?
Amen.
Man, I should warn you, my ADHD is like raging today. So this
that's perfect for podcasting. I love it.
Yeah,
I don't mind going long. So I'm just going to end up talking about aliens.
Who would have thought that we would still be praying on episodes?
I like that we are.
Me too. I don't know. I guess I didn't really put much thought into like why that was going to happen on episode 1. Like I've never prayed before shifts or anything like that because it felt like pushy on my employees, but push it on the listeners.
I think you said from day one of like, I know that might be weird. I might know you might not like it, but this is my podcast and I want to do it.
And fuck off, motherfuckers. All right. Mistake.
That's how you should know the prayers.
Number. Oh my gosh. I would love a bloopers reel of like, this is what I want you to make for me as a present. So I want you to go back and like start, like basically make a prayer from all of my prayers, but like include all the weird ass shit that I have incorporated into a prayer. That would make me happy. It'd
Jacob,
probably
can you
take
do
like
that for me?
72 hours of work. But okay, let's get on with this. Mistake
Okay.
number one.
So these are mistakes we have made since our last mistakes we made episode.
These are not mistakes we didn't talk about. These are more mistakes that we just kept making.
Number one, and I think this is one that is we've probably known, but has hit home a lot more recently as we've been focusing on it, is not hiring / inspiring A players.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I want to preface this is not a bash to any of our former employees. Like
no,
I've genuinely liked almost everyone who has ever worked for us. They
almost,
passed the I would go get a drink with them test. They
almost,
are smart, capable people. Uh,
almost.
trying to get the video to show your drink.
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying, like,
almost everyone. Yeah, we've had people that we didn't love. Like, yeah, this comes down to for our business. Like,
yeah,
I think every person has some zone of genius that they can operate as an A player in some place. This falls on us as owners and leaders that we either weren't patient enough or weren't diligent enough to hire people who are truly A players, or we didn't like lead them enough. Or I think there may be examples where we maybe had people who could have been, and we didn't fully inspire or set expectations or whatever too.
no, I do agree with all that. Your nice little like political statement. It is true. Because I think that everyone can be an A player at a certain job. And so when we're talking about A players, it's like these are people that they're so capable and on fire for the mission of the business. They're often going to get twice as much done, if not 3 times as much done as a B or C player. And that's like a thing that we like this whole A player thing we got from TRP. So like that's
Yeah.
the phrasing behind it. But like yeah. So again, I do agree that like these people weren't bad at all. They were wonderful, kind people. That is why we hired them. But we hired from a place of they would like we didn't look at the entirety of the job that we needed them to fill and go, will they check every box? So like there were some people that was like, they love our clinic and they are smiley. Great. Do they know anything about balancing accounts or having difficult conversations? I don't know. I can teach it. Like, can I? Did I? No. Like, so just, I think that replicated out 10 different times of just, we focused on their strengths and really ignored areas where they may not have been strong and what that was going to do to our clinic. And even if we saw like, oh, they won't necessarily be the person that can do this for our clinic, we then we just kind of like we needed hands.
Yeah.
And that just bites you in the ass. It really does.
Well, and I think part of the needing hands too, you can disagree with me here, is I feel like at times we've hired for our people who are busy, our people who we know and we trust and we love, like the people who we have seen be A players. They were busy. And so we thought we needed to alleviate their busyness instead of fix our systems and make them more productive and, do more with their time. So we were like, and also like, you don't want to lose your people that you love. So like, if it's anything of we're going to do any kind of schedule change, we're going to open Fridays, we're going to open Saturdays. Now it's like, well, we can't ask the OGs to work Saturdays. So we need someone. Yeah. So then it gets into like needing the hands. And I also think like one of the things at TRP too, when they were talking about A and B players, is like, you need to have a vision and an inspiration for them to be A players. And also you need to show them your example as an A player. And like, that's the, like they were asking everyone in the room. And I think it was kind of directed towards the CAs in the room of like, are you an A player, a C player, a B player, an A player? But I took it personal of like, oh, I'm trying to hire A players. I'm trying to get A players to do all the work at the clinic. And then it's like, I go to a meeting and we go, we need this tracking spreadsheet. and then I forget about it till the next meeting, and then I go like, oh yeah, I'll get that done. I'm not an A player half the time in the clinic.
Mm.
So like, and like, yeah, we're gonna train these people on all this stuff. And then we kind of do, we kind of don't. We don't actually follow up to double check and measure if they've learned what we needed them to learn. Like there have been times where we weren't A leaders and still going like, why can't we find any A players? And it's like,
Hmm.
well, the people who are Bs in our clinic at times maybe could have been As, like not many, but like I think there's one or two that it's like, did we drop the ball there?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
was us being like, gosh, we hired so many people, they should figure it out. It's like, you want them to figure out your business for you while making $35,000 a year? Like,
Yeah.
go fuck yourself. Like,
Yeah. And so then I think the repercussions of hiring not the perfect person that is driven and motivated then kind of rolls into the next problem that we created for ourselves, a profitability garbage can.
yeah. So, like, I think number two is not fully appreciating profit, and kind of a side thing of that of like borrowing ideas from other clinics or other coaching groups or whatever without running it through the lens of like, will that work? Not just work for our clinic, will that work for our business? Like
Mhm,
our business that we want to make money at the end of the day.
mhm.
Like that is, it's really easy to see a model. And I think people do it too of like, they do it with Walmart of like, we're going to get the most amount of products at the lowest price, and that's going to get people in. And that's how we're going to run a business. And it's like, you don't realize that Walmart is not a retail company. They are a logistics company. Like the reason they can have the lowest prices is because they have the lowest cost labor, because they have the most automated system possible of tracking everything, and they have a huge footprint. Like, and they know where their customers are, they know what their customers can pay. Everything is run like a huge business, and the result of that is that they can do low prices. If you
Mhm.
don't have Walmart's full model, then you're not going to be able to compete with Walmart on price. And I think we've done that with different things of incorporating different systems, different pricing models, where we're modeling after other clinics that are in different areas with different clientele, with different staffing
And picking and
issues.
choosing what part we took. So,
Yeah.
like, not taking everything that they do to make that clinic successful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not adding in all the education they do to keep super, super loyal patients, just copying one model of like pricing or something, and then just being like, why isn't this working? It's like, well, we didn't do it all. We didn't look at it as true business owners. And I think to get to a broader issue of, I think we went down the rabbit hole of we wanted to, and this came from a really good place. We wanted to help the most people,
Yep.
help the people who we thought needed it the most. And like, it's like step one, help the most people. Step two, question mark. Step three, profit. Like,
Right. Yes.
like we
Yeah.
didn't.
Profit really was well, because in the beginning, there was so much profit.
Mhm,
Because in the beginning, it was just me and
mhm.
a really small space and a single CA. And so, like we didn't really resonate with people who were like, oh, I didn't start bringing a paycheck home. Like we were bringing money home
Oh, still
fast.
to this day, our most profitable year was when you had one CA
Yeah. It
and
would
we
have been
would
like
just,
year three,
yeah,
year two,
like that.
year two.
That's our most profitable. It's not our biggest revenue year, not
No.
even close, but that was our most like just money in the pocket.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Right before, right when we needed that first associate. And yeah. But so then like what happens is as you just don't think that I don't even know if there's not conversations. There's starting to be conversations about profitability in chiropractic.
Mhm.
And I think that I think it's good. I think that I feel like there's just been a lot of chiros who have been led to believe that if their heart is in the right place, then it's all going to work out.
Mhm.
And that is sad because ideally that would be the case, but it's not always. It's not always. You can, if the math doesn't math, you can only sustain, you can only pay your bills. You can only be in the state of fight or flight for so long where you are financially struggling and trying to keep your doors open and carrying the burden of other people's jobs. And like it quickly becomes clear how the phrase like heal the healer
Hmm.
shows up is because it's like where you're functioning from. If you're not financially stable, the idea, like this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you are not financially stable, like if you are worried that you are literally not going to be able to pay your bills, you're not going to be able to pay your rent or your mortgage or for your kids to get glasses, like you can't be worried about other people's needs before that. And I think that's the thing that chiros do very wrong is like, how dare you worry about yourself? You went into if you're going in with a servant attitude, then
Well, I
you
mean,
fell
I
to
would
the
I would take it even farther of like it's not just the attitude, it's the people feel the stress of anything. So like we had a point where we were carrying a lot of extra employees, more employees than we needed. So it wasn't truly profitable for us to have that many. And so we could say like, but we love our employees and we want to keep them around and we're going to figure this out. And that's what's best for them. But it wasn't best for them. Like they could feel our stress. They could feel our need to go like, hey, we're barely staying afloat here. Like you need to figure out how to get more patients. You need to figure out how we keep more patients. You guys need to be doing more. You need to find projects. Like it wasn't a good, like we have a different problem now. Like we have less CAs and they're busy, they're productive, and they have stress in that. But they also know that if we grow, if we get more patients, there's more room for them. There's
Mhm.
more room for them to have raises. There's more room for them to get trained into new roles. Whereas before it was like, you just need to make more money so you can all keep your jobs.
Yeah.
And that's not a good vibe to be around. That's not
Mhm.
a situation that you want people to have to be in, day out.
I have a sub point to this mistake. So it's like to be that the Disney experience that you can literally fix retention issues if you just have enough CAs to deliver a magical front desk experience that can replace table talk. It cannot.
Mm,
The value of the adjustment has to like, and so I think that it just goes along with this profitability and so many employees of like, well, we have an employee who will like our employees will walk you out to your car with an umbrella and this and that. And it's like, well, that sounds nice. That sounds great. I would love that. But that means that you have an employee who's, basically like waiting for opportunities to just, and that's cool. But
well,
like,
and the patient still quits, but they just send you a nicer goodbye letter of like,
yeah,
I'm so sorry, we can't afford this right now, but you guys
yeah,
were so great.
yes. Yeah.
So
Like,
what you want is nicer resignation letters from patients.
yeah.
Do that.
So it comes down to like, you can have, I mean, yay for customer experience for sure. Like,
Mhm.
of course, but customer experience is never going to make up for shitty table talk.
Yeah, or shitty education.
Right.
Like they can love coming, but if at the end that pain keeps coming back and they don't understand the philosophy of chiropractic of like, are you taking care of your body? Are you talking to your doctor about, why is this happening? Is there more, toxic thoughts or foods in your life? If they haven't learned any of that, then they just go like, it's not working. Nice
Right.
people, bye.
Yep. All right. Next.
Duplicating is not the same as scaling.
Oh, yeah. God, these hurt. These suck. Can we take a break? I'm just gonna take a
Take
sip.
another sip of your drink.
Yeah. So I think that scaling is something that is thrown around. Like, where are you at? Are you in your startup? Are you in your scaling phase? And when you're seeing 50 people a week, scaling often means you're looking to 100 a week.
Mm.
And 100 a week turns into like, yes, we're making 200,000. I don't know the math on what 100 a week clinic, whatever. We're making $250,000 and we're seeing 100 a week. I want to make $500,000. So we have to double that. And so like so often in the beginning, you don't like when you're seeing 0 people before you open your doors, you don't really know if your systems and procedures are scalable. Like you haven't
Mm,
done it, you haven't felt it. You're often, because like the people who are doing scalable systems have people like they have more money than they have time. But when you're
yeah.
first starting out, you don't have money, you have time. And so you create all these systems based on your time. And then like you don't realize like just again the math not mathing at a certain point you don't go like okay do we just keep doubling this or do we need to start looking at our systems scalable? And I don't really know where we should have done it. Like was it before you bring on the first doctor? Is it after you bring on the first associate? Is it when we opened the second clinic? Like, because I was
I
still
think it's
working in both.
I think it's a little bit of all of it. I think there's part of it is understanding and having right expectations for scaling, because I think a lot of docs go, and it's what you did, of going like, well, by the time we hired our first associate, you were seeing like 300, 325 a week by yourself. So you go, okay, so I'm going to hire an associate and then we can see another 300 people.
Right.
No, you can't. That
Nope.
associate does not own their own business and is not making hundreds of thousands of dollars. They are not going to, for $70,000, see 325 people a week and break themselves. They're also not as good of a salesman as you. They're not as invested in the marketing. They're not as invested in anything. Like, and they shouldn't be. Like, this isn't a
Right.
diss against associates. You're paying them $70,000. They should hopefully be excited about your mission, hopefully be very excited about getting patients in and delivering the best adjustment and communication and education they can. But if you're thinking of scaling as like, well, I'm going to double me, no, you're going to a third to a half you if you're a
Mm,
rock
a
star like
third.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like, so that's part of the scaling is another person doesn't equal double the production. Then I also think with the systems change and how you need to scale changes as you go. So you can have you and a CA, and however you kludge it together is fine because you guys all know it. Like the
Mm,
training program is you teaching them. And
mm-hmm.
now you've got an extra set of hands. Once you get to 2 CAs, 3 CAs, now it's not only how CA1 does it, it's how do we do it? And if there's a problem, who do you go back to? How do you communicate? How do you keep things in check? Then there's a different scaling problem of when you go to a second clinic. It's how do we keep our entire system going? Like, because the last thing you want is the patients to know any of this. Like, that's kind of always been our standard. We have 2 clinics, 2 locations, but you live in Cumberland, but you happen to be in Rice Lake today getting groceries or going to Menards, you can stop in the Rice Lake Clinic. And that should be seamless for you. So like, but behind the scenes, that's having the right electronic health records, the right billing systems, having everything in the cloud. Thank you, Genesis.
I
You're
was going to
great.
say insert ad for Genesis.
So like those are the things that like when you talk about scaling, and that's just on the technology side, but then there's the systems and procedure side of like having it be across both the clinics. If they stop in, but it's their 12th visit and they're due for a scan, having it be like, oh, you've gotten a scan in Cumberland, but you're in Rice Lake today. We can do the scan here and it's going to be the same. And you're going to understand your results the same. And even if you want your report of findings back in Cumberland, it's going to be the same because our 2 docs know how we communicate these things. Like as you get bigger and you have more people, it starts to be about giving, and not that every person has to say the same lines. Like I'm not a big scripty person, but like
It
that
needs to be congruent. It has
it
to have
needs
a
to be
congruent
congruent. It has to
message.
feel the same.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
don't want, and I know some people have different opinions on this, but in our clinic, it's always been like, if Lauryn is gone and you're seeing Jess, or if Jess is gone and you're seeing Lauryn, well, you may have a slight preference in style. What we don't want is a big proportion of patients going, I never want Jess, or I
Right.
never want Lauryn. Like, so those are systems from adjusting to how we greet people, to how we answer the phone, to how files are moved around, to how our scans go. Like, that takes a lot of work as you get more people involved.
Yeah. I think there's just what happens with growth is you're always just so forward focused.
Mhm.
Like you're bringing on another doctor because you need one. You're bringing on another CA because you need one. You're opening a location because you, and like there isn't this point where you stop and go, hold up, let's look back. And is this system what we want to continue doing? Like now's a great opportunity for change. Like you don't do that. So
Yeah,
it's just,
no one goes like, you know what? Let's slow everything down for a minute.
yeah. Because
Tear
if you're
something that we've
growing,
been doing to the ground.
yeah, if you're growing is not scaling. But so many
Mhm.
people think that growing is scaling. And
It's
like,
almost like you need stalling or regression to wake you up that you need proper systems to truly scale. Oh,
mhm.
one other point I wanted to make about this too, that it's one that we're kind of going through now is thinking about what you want to grow. So like if you're looking at it as like revenue, profit, whatever, if we wanted to go from $1 million clinic to a $2 million clinic, it is not by, I don't, at least in my mind, the easier path is not to double our locations, double our employees, double our amount of patients.
No, but it took us getting to a certain size before that was the case.
Yeah, realizing like, do I want to be managing 15 employees and having to hire more employees to manage those employees? And where's our profitability in that?
Right.
So like realizing that it goes back to the profitability thing from mistake two of like, oh, if we were going to grow to 2 million, it would be through different outside treatments. It would be
Got
through
to figure
renting
it
space
out.
to people. It would be
Yeah.
through raising prices. It would be through better education and packaging. Like it is not, because especially in a small town, like we would be, treating a quarter of the town if we so
So, so yeah. Okay. Next.
this one is not purely chiropractic, but somewhat that ties in with our clinic. Not having a coherent investment philosophy.
It's really funny because we made these and then I like forgot. I'm like, yeah, what's the next one?
Oh, that is good.
That is
Yeah. Who thought of
good.
that?
That's
Me?
good. We did
15
fuck that
minutes
up.
ago?
Yeah.
I think one thing that we had from the start, or at least I did, was so like I was trained in finance, but like not personal finance, but I knew enough about it. And I was thinking the classic, like, I work for a corporation. I put money into my 401k. Like I'm
And we
doing a good
both
job.
came from generations where that's what you did. You worked, you put money away to your retirement, and then you retired.
And I thought at the
And rich
beginning, like,
people did investing.
yeah, like I thought like we're savvy at the beginning. Like right from the beginning, we had was the beginning was SEP IRA, I think is the one where you have like only yourself or like one or two employees. So we had like a SEP IRA from day one. We're maxing it out, putting money away, doing a good job. I still had a corporate or a consulting job where I could establish my own IRA. We were doing all of that and thought like we're saving on taxes, we're investing, we're doing good. One, glad we did that. We have a nice chunk in there. That's great, but we weren't being sophisticated. I think, yeah, like you said, we had the mindset of like, once we have so much money that there's like tons of extra money, then we'll invest in other things.
Mhm.
And we kind of lucked slash were forced into things of like, we didn't build our own building until we were in a building that cost like 2,700, 3,000 a month in rent.
Mhm.
And then we were able to do the math and go, oh, if we built our own building, our mortgage payment on a very nice building would only be $2,500. Okay, that one makes sense now. Like we could have been investing a lot earlier than that. Same thing with our other clinic building. The owner said, I'm going to sell it. And so, like, you'll either have a new landlord or they'll kick you out or whatever. So then we figured out the numbers and turns out that what we were paying in rent is exactly what we would pay in a mortgage for it. So we did that. And then the Airbnb thing was there's a whole
That's
episode on
the
that.
wrong thing, but yeah.
I wouldn't do the same, but I mean that was a mix of smart finance and personal wants and needs. So
Mhm.
like that wasn't the most sound financial decision, but like we weren't doing the little things and just turning our mindset a little bit to like we we still don't have a ton of free cash floating around because of all of these other investments that we've made in buildings, but having the mindset of like I'm looking for something to invest. I'm looking for something that's going to generate positive cash flow. The fact
Mhm.
that we've sat down and talked about what our plan is for the next 10 years, and it involves us having some passive income. All of a sudden, when you start talking about these things and mentioning them, your buddy calls you up and says, do you want to get 15K in on this real estate lending deal? And I don't know where that was before, but it seemed like once we started turning our mindset to
I also
that,
think we were in our 20s, babe. So our friends weren't doing that. But
I mean, some of them were. I
yeah,
just
some
don't
of
think
them
they
were.
thought we were in the
No,
conversation
I
yet.
think that I think the biggest takeaway here is that we thought that we needed to be making, like, I don't know how much money we thought we needed to be making before we started investing, and we weren't smart about like percents. So
Yeah.
like percent, like, okay, so
Yeah. I
I'm
went
going
down
to
a
say
Dave
this as a
Ramsey hole and that
dumb
kind of messed
person,
us
and
up.
then Kirby's going to say it as a smart person. Okay. Basically, the market, whatever that is, I was joking, you can get 6 to 8% pretty easily on your money. So anything that you have debt that the interest is like higher than 6%, probably want to like limit that, like get that down. But anything that you've got an interest rate of less than 6%, this is money that you don't necessarily, this is not financial advice, that isn't necessarily beneficial to pay off aggressively, because the money you're using, like the extra money you're using to pay off a 3% loan, you could be investing. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like when that clicked, it was like, oh, okay, well, that's a loan at 4%. So like, that's like a locked in loan at 4% for the next like 15 years. Hello, inflation. Like, I don't want to pay that off at all. Like, when your brain started like doing that thing, you're like, oh, debt is not all equal.
Yeah. So I went through a whole phase where I was like, I want to be fully free financially. Like, I want no debt. We paid off student loans, which actually was a good idea just because income-based repayment, we make too much that eventually they would have gotten all their money. Unless I was really good at hiding money like I am now.
That's a talk for another day. You got to be in the course to get that shit.
But no, so like when the only debt we had was like a car payment and our house payment, and we got rid of the student loans, I was like, let's tackle the next one now. So we started aggressively paying off the house. And then I slowed down when we bought the buildings just because we didn't have as much cash flow or whatever. But like we have a 30-year mortgage that started 10 years ago, and we could pay it off in the next few months if we wanted to, because it's so low now. But that interest rate that we locked into was 2.5%.
Oh,
And it hurts my heart to go
dirty to
like,
me.
there's probably 60 or 70 grand that could have been invested in something that's appreciating at 10% per year. Like, we could have.
I hope people are following this. Like, I know a lot of people are, but like those that are like 25, like, I hope, because this is for you.
And then even when you go like, well, you have that equity, like take out a home equity line. Well, now the interest rates are high. So if you take out a HELOC on the equity we have in our house, it's going to be at 7 or 8%. So the fund's not there anymore.
It's not fun anymore.
It's not fun.
So getting
We
smart.
paid off our debts too much.
Getting smart with your money sooner than you think you should be.
Yeah. And to that point of like having an investment philosophy, talking about like what you do and don't invest in, what kind of risk you are and aren't comfortable, talking as a couple, because there's always going to be things that pop up. You're going to hear about a crypto coin that like people are becoming millionaires. By the time you heard about it, if people have already become millionaires, you're usually too late unless it's one of the big dogs and you're willing to throw a lot of money at it. So like, don't go buy Doge now. Buy it 8 years ago, 4 years ago.
Kirby just like is like inside his head, like dropping like these little jokes, and everyone's like, okay, what's Doge? What? No. all of your people would be laughing right now, honey. But these are my people.
Anyway, so talking with your spouse and knowing what you do and you don't do in terms of investments. So like if you say like, we want to look at investment properties, but we want to have them be either passive income or semi-passive, we're only going to look at rental homes that already have a property manager, or apartment buildings that already have a property manager or are already 75% full. As you start to look at your investments, you'll go, okay, I'm comfortable with that, not comfortable with that, because when those opportunities do come, you want to have something to reference back to and go like, this is a definite green light. We need to act fast. And we already talked about this. Or like it's a yellow light of like, let's think about how this balances against other things we have going on or other things we're saving for.
Mm-hmm.
We just never, we're just living life as it came.
Yeah. But
Which,
similar way to the way we were running our practice.
yeah.
But I think it's across the board. Like people are just freaking busy.
Yeah.
We didn't sit down and have this point where it was like, whoa, what, like you just don't stop in life, you know? It was
Mhm.
just had a baby in there and had another baby in there, and
They're great babies.
they are. I need to have an episode on like tween girls, like, because I don't.
Bring out a tween girl expert.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
like because it's so funny. Side note, you know, we've just been putting all of this effort into, so like this is 13 years, right? So we just passed our 13-year in practice last December, and like all of this stuff has happened, and like, I'm not an idiot. I would always put like, all right, where are your priorities? I would say I would say family, but like when then you go like, all right, but what is actual, like my career, and I put my in front of there, like,
Mm.
you know, intentionally, not subconscious, like, no, I've put myself, not us, and like what the build things we've built. But like from the moment I found out I was having a girl, like that was everything, you know. So it was like, yeah, but and then so to see, like, you get to see the best version of me, kid. Like I have been trying to protect you from my workaholism and like past generations trauma, and like I'm not gonna be a narcissist, and like protecting my emotions from her, and like letting her know all these things. And then she's about to be 12 and she still just thinks I'm a jackass. And I'm just like, but she loves me. I know she loves me, but like, you're just like, damn it. You just puts everything in perspective of like, I have tried so hard at this thing. Like I've tried harder at this than anything else. And it's still like, oh, well, not good enough. Right.
Isn't that great though? It reminds you that
Isn't
like,
that great?
yeah,
No, were you listening? It's terrible.
this is
What?
more the Jocko Will good, but like good. Now you know where she is and what she needs. And you know
But
that
it's
it's
not what
so
I want. Like, and I
mm,
get it. I'm duh, hear it.
yeah.
But it's just like it's the type of thing where like when we're fighting, I don't yell at her at all. Like I'm just like eating all of my stuff inside and just being like, yeah, controlling, like, and I can go spew to you afterwards. But like, and she's just like, I need time. And I'm just like, I need to process this. Like, I need us to talk this out right now. I need to, like, I cannot. And like, so it's this so many mistakes in both
No,
career.
but
Like,
like that's where it's good because like you're doing so much work. But I mean, it'd be like if you were training for something and you were like, I'm gonna win the Boston Marathon, and then you worked really hard as best you could in your free time for 12 years, and then you saw what it takes to win the Boston Marathon. And then you can either reset your priorities, or if you go, no, I'm going to win the Boston Marathon, you know that you have to change your life
do I
and
have
be
to
different.
reset are you saying I need to reset my priorities, and like that her and I won't necessarily stay close through tween and teenage years?
No, I think you can stay close.
The
I
host
think
in me
like,
really needs to tie this into like our what the hell, like this road. I'm like, oh yeah, this relates because it's a mistake that I've made in parenting. Insert.
no, I
Else.
think it ties to practice too, because I think people set, and we talked about it actually in the last one of like how you define success. So if you're like, I'm going to be the person she always comes to, the person that she absolutely looks up to in every situation, that she never questions, that she appreciates how soft and gentle and subtle I am, and you're trying to do all those things, and then you realize what that's going to take, and it's more than you're capable of or willing to give, or it's outside of your wheelhouse or whatever, then you reset your priorities in the same way that if you say like, I want to see 1,500 people a week. And then you get to 700 and you go, no, I don't, not like this. And
Mhm.
then you either change your goal or you change how you go about your goal.
Yeah. And I think that way to tie it in. Good job. Good job.
That's what I'm here for.
I think that that's kind of what I've gone through, the last few months with her well, honestly, the last 12 years, like of just being like, I am going to be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to hold this back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be this like presentation of what like a good mom, an emotionally intelligent mom should be and will be. And then I don't want to say it's not good enough to her. Like the poor thing would like her heart would break if she heard this conversation because like she loves both of us so much and she's so proud of me. And I know that. But like when I'm starting to see like, oh, I did all this and like it still was like I'm still getting the same shit that every other mom gets. Like, okay, I can't do more. And so we're just her and I starting to have conversations around like, I love you, but I'm going to continue to be the best mom. And I'm doing it because I want to be the best mom, not because I think that's the mom you'll like. And like, I'm going to be me and you and I have different personalities. Like, she literally said, like, I just feel like you're uptight all the time. And I'm like, I am.
I am. Well, and to tie it back into episode and stuff too, I think that's one of the things you talked about in the last one of like trying to let go of ego and outcomes with patience. Like I think you have done and still do sometimes of like that person left. I gave them a discount. I let them come at 4:30 on a Tuesday when I was already busy. I did this. I like suspended their payments when their husband lost their job and then they still left. And it's like, who were you doing that for? Were you actually doing it for them or were you doing it so that they would give you approval? Like talk about letting go of the ego. Like if you're going to give and give generously and love generously, love usually doesn't come with expectations and strings tied.
You're a wise, wise little Buddha.
Covered in hair.
Thank you.
All right, you want number 5?
Yes, final one. That was 4B, by the way. 4B. That was totally planned.
You pre-warned the audience. Your ADHD is strong today.
What's funny is while you were talking about investment stuff, because I got bored, I was starting to think about like, all right, we are going to Costco this afternoon, right? Is that happening?
Yeah, as long as the girls are cool with it when they get off the bus.
Okay, it's official because like my brain is starting to go like, I want to go to Costco. All right, 5.
5 was stepping out instead of leveling up.
You know what? This is going to be one of those ones that like another 4 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, oh, that was cute. That was cute that we talked about it.
And I think we're learning it as we go too of like, I think if you would have asked like 2 years ago, we would have said like, you're doing great. You're getting more CEO time. You have podcast time. You're in the clinic less. We're doing great. Until we realized like, I think part of it was we had a good setup and good people. And then certain people left, certain people came. And it's like, was the system good? Were we good CEO, CFO? Or did we come up with the right people at the right time, train the right people at the right time? And then we were like, and now like, let her run.
This is going to sound really heartless, but like, I didn't like workshop this. Kirby's very used to this. I don't know if you guys are. I think that there is the first level of thinking about stepping up as a leader. You go to like systems of like KPIs and I'm not going to be here and what's going to happen when I'm not here and how do the things not fall through the cracks. And I think that you need to take that. That is probably a very good first step. Because if you're not in the clinic, just making sure that people's priorities, someone's focused on the things while you're not there. So you can just, simply get a report and be like, oh, great, good. Things are going well in numbers standpoint. But I think in the last year and a half, let's see, it's February 2024, year and a half, 2 years maybe max, I started to care about my employees. And like, that's the thing where, listen,
you cared about our employees. You didn't focus on their
You're going to try and save me here, but like...
You loved Katie.
I liked our employees. There's a difference between liking as a person and caring as a leader. So like, I liked / cared for the people as like people, kind of like, but like, I definitely liked them. but like there's this next level of being invested in their lives that this is a two-way street.
Yeah.
So like I of course liked Dr. Katie. I loved Dr. Katie. But like, was she more than, in addition to like, yeah, I like her, was she more, was that a relationship that was two ways? Like, was I
Mm.
pouring into her as much
Did
as
you
I was
understand like
asking of her?
what her real
Yeah,
life goals were
right.
inside and outside the clinic?
Like thinking about like an employee as like an individual that has their own dreams and career aspirations, and like really thinking, how can I be a part of that and help that happen? Like it might just be that I'm a crazy Enneagram 3, whatever, insert whatever. Like some people probably, like Kirby, you probably cannot relate to this even remotely. But when you're such a driven, like achiever mindset where you're just like this, and on to the next, and like it's people can be collateral damage. They really,
Mhm.
really can. Like if you're not an A player, then blah, like it's very easy to be like, this is my mission and you should this. And so it was just, it was that next level of leadership of just going like, oh, part of getting you to care about, like, I need you to care about what we're building here. And in order for you to fully care, like, there's so much anti boss speech on social media right now.
Yeah.
It is insane how just like the boss is always the a-hole, like always just like they're always this and always. And so just leaning into how you help guide someone through their life. How, and like maybe it is because I'm older now. Like Katie and I weren't that different in age. And now like my associates, I'm like 10 years older than them. And it's like, what does mentorship look like? And
Mhm.
that, I was, when I was 28, I wasn't mentoring a 25-year-old. I wasn't thinking about it that way. And I think that was
Yeah.
a huge difference.
I
So
think
it's
part
just,
of what goes with that too is some of the, I think we referenced it a little earlier too, is people don't mind working for someone who makes money, but they want to know why. So, like, in addition to caring about what's going on with them, having a compelling vision is part of the leadership thing that I think we're stepping into more of. It's not just like, make $1 million, we'll take you to Mexico. Like, that's great. And that will inspire people. You want to understand what drives them, but like, really getting people on board with, here's how we're going to help the people who walk in this door. We care so deeply about. I want you to pay attention to. I want you to get testimonials because it helps with marketing, but I want you to get testimonials because you had a conversation with someone about how you changed their life. The work you do is important. This is so cool that we get to do this. And if we make more, we're going to invest more in the community. We're going to bring in other stuff that can help people more. And if we're making more, it means we're helping more people.
mhm.
Like getting that through to people. And I think that kind of circles all the way back to one part of hiring an A player, at least in our experience, is we've needed to find people who at least already kind of got the mission of chiropractic, because hiring someone who's just good with numbers, who's never been to a chiropractor, who went a couple times, like it's hard. And I don't know if that's our failure in training or our failure in not screening, but like
I
it's
think
really
as
hard
the
to
owner
sell
is always
people
our
on the mission of
failure.
what you're doing if they're like, yeah, I guess it helps. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so there we go.
We did it. Five
There's
more
all that.
mistakes and a couple sub bullet mistakes.
And our Costco grocery list. No.
Congrats on making it to 250. That's a lot of
Oh
work.
my gosh. Oh, you
Proud
should
of
have
you.
had how many downloads we're at.
Oh, we've switched platforms so many times. I
I
have a
know.
ballpark, but
Well,
I'll get it dialed in for you.
all right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, She Slayers, thank you so much for like I was scrolling back for something the other day. There is so many good episodes. Like we've covered so many amazing topics. So like if you are new-ish, don't be afraid to go back and just like, so it kind of depends. Some people like bounce around. And some people are like purgers. Like, don't be afraid to just go back to one and just listen all the way through, because there's some damn good ones. If you want
Wait,
me
did you say purgers? Don't you mean bingers?
yeah.
Wouldn't purging be throwing up all the episodes versus consuming them?
You know, I do just fine without you. Most whatever. Yes, binging is what I meant to say, not purging. Whatever. Now you lost my train of thought, Kirby.
Great episodes. Go back, find ones that are awesome. Look for big names, look for subjects.
I'll just
There's
listen all the way through. They're all good. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not. There's like 2 or 3 that I'm like, yeah, skip that one.
guess which ones.
Yeah. No, don't send me which ones you think, because if you're
That'd be
wrong,
so
you'll
funny. I'm
break
like,
my heart.
Is it episode 72? That was a real stinker. I have no idea what episode 72 is.
No, so don't guess. Don't guess. All right, Cheese Slayers. Thank you so much for being on this journey. Thanks for listening to this episode. Kirby, you are a great non-doctor co-host.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you
All right,
too.
Cheese Slayers.
Bye.
Until next week. Bye.